So yesterday we saw what is Spring Framework, what is Spring Boot Framework, and the key features of Spring and Spring Boot. And we also saw how to create the Spring Boot project using Spring Boot Initializer or the starter project. So we'll recap that and we'll see how to do the CRUD operation or do or listen to different methods of calls from the client and do the calculations or write business logic with respectively with proper file and folder structure which is followed in the industry when we are going to create some Spring Boot project. Okay, so quick recap on creating the Spring Boot project and importing it to our IDE. Then we will begin how to do the CRUD operations. Okay, let me share my screen. So can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we will go to spring.start.io or sorry, start.spring.io. Okay, so here we have to first select the build type. Okay, build tool for our project. We generally select Maven and we have to select the language for Spring Boot. If you are going to code in Java, select Java, Kotlin, select Kotlin. Recently, this has got added. Last week it was not there. Recently, this some groovy language got added and seeing for the first time. Then we have to select the version of Spring Boot. Okay, currently this is the full-fledged working version which is all tested and everything. Select that version with there is where there is no nothing in the bracket. Okay, select either this version or this version is also okay, but don't select that version which has snapshot in brackets. Okay, snapshot versions are released to test. Okay, it is not for us, it is for the testers who test this version of Spring Boot. So please select that version. It is auto selected. Okay, so this is the best choice. Select this version, then give some group ID and artifact ID. What we shall give? I'll give some com dot uttara dot some book management book dot manager. Okay, and artifact ID as I give it like book hyphen management. Okay, so that's it. Then you select the jar. It is all default. You can select either 17th version or whatever version that you have, or you select the 21st version, which is the latest version for Java. If you are selecting Spring Boot 3 and above, then it will work or it is compatible with only with Java version 17 or above. If you are selecting 2, Spring Boot version as 2 point something, then it will work above all Java 8 version. Okay. If you are selecting the Spring Boot 3, then you have to select Java 17 or above. If you are selecting Spring Boot 2, then you have to select Java 8 and above. So this is the Java version. This is the packaging type. We always select jar file. Then you have to give group ID and artifact ID, which defines the name for your project, Spring Boot project. Then you have to select the language, project build tool, which is Maven, and the Spring Boot version. You have to select the full-fledged released version. Now at present it is 3.1.5. Then you can select or you have to add dependencies. Now the basic dependency that we need is just a Spring Web. If you just type web, you will get Spring Web. It helps you. This dependency helps you develop a RESTful API, RESTful backend server, which also consists of embedded Tomcat server, and it helps in MVC architecture. The MVC architecture is already there. You just have to build on top of it. Okay, so this is how we create a Spring Web MVC or add Spring Web dependency to our Spring Boot project. Then here is a button. I'll just hide this. Hide video panel. Not hide. Sorry. Where is that? My video panel got hidden. Show video panel. Sorry. And you see this generate. You click on generate. It generates the file and it is downloaded. Now you go to your downloads file, downloads folder. Sorry. Here you have the downloaded zip file book management. You cut this and copy to this elsewhere. Okay, I'm copying to my D drive in some folder where I have kept all the Spring Boot starter projects. So I will paste this here. So now I will extract this. Okay, extract all. Extract. So we have created our Spring Boot project. We have downloaded it and we have extracted it. Any doubts in these 3 steps?
No, sir.
Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Prajwal asked to recap.
Yes, sir.
Clear? Okay. So now we have to, we have to import this, right? We have to import this to our IDE. So open up your IDE, that is Eclipse. Use Eclipse because it only supports all these things, build tool and building and adding dependencies and everything. Recently, Visual Studio Code is also updated. I will see if it also supports, but I don't think so. Eclipse is okay. You can use Eclipse and you have to import this. How to import? Open up Eclipse, some workspace that you are using. Better open a new workspace for Spring Boot, then it will be much clearer rather than crowding all your projects here itself is not okay. Okay, open up new workspace and import it. To import, you can just click on File and click on Import. Okay, it will open up a wizard like this, and you have to select the earlier you will see like this. Okay, you will see some menu like this. You have to select for Maven. You have to search for Maven. In Maven, you have to search for existing Maven projects because it is already existing in our system. We have to import that existing project. So I click on existing Maven project. And next, now we have to select the directory. Okay, where is it? Browse. Okay, I have stored it in Spring Starter, Spring Boot Starter, and it is book management, and select folder. Okay, it selects the folder and there is a file called pom.xml, it selects that also. That name is also same, book management, and this book management is also same, and you just tell finish. You see, that is imported, and you can see if you are importing for the first time any Maven project, it takes a bit time. Okay, it takes 2-3 minutes, nearly at max to max 5 to 10 minutes it will take, because it need to import the Maven and everything, Maven project, and build that project and everything. So it takes time. Don't worry if it is not happening fast, but if you are doing again and again, it will take very less time. Since I have done this for so many times, it took not more than 30 seconds or so. Our book management project got imported. Okay, you can see this pom.xml. We have this Spring Boot starter web and Spring Boot starter test. These are the two dependencies that is added by the added by us is only one, and it is this test dependency is added by the Spring Boot automatically. Okay, so this is how we create Spring Boot project, download it, and import it to our Eclipse. Any doubts? Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, everybody clear? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So what I thought is, instead of coding in front of you, I have coded this CRUD application. I'll explain it to you, whatever it is doing, what the code is doing, and how the Spring Boot is impacting the working of this code, so that we cover many things in less time. If I keep coding, you will also feel bored, or it will not move fast. So I thought I will code it, and I keep it ready, and I explain it how the code works, or how Spring Boot is managing everything for us. Is that okay? Or should I code it in front of you?
Sir, I would like to see you code in front of us.
Yeah, sir, same here.
Okay, cool. What I do is I explain this. If you feel like uncomfortable, and if you do not understand, I will recode it in front of you. Okay?
Yes,
sir.
sir, because in the React, the same thing happens, sir. So just sir try to just explain us. That time we can understand, but later on we can't understand much, sir.
Okay, cool. Let us try this. I will explain step by step, not one shot, not in one shot. Like this will do this, this will do this. I'll not do that. I will explain everything line by line, and we will see how it goes. Okay. Because coding takes much time, and I cannot remember everything that is here, right? So then
Yeah,
that
sir.
also
If you
takes
do like,
time.
sir,
Yep.
if you do like this, can you please repeat like 2-3 times so that we can
Yeah, sure,
catch some parts?
sure. Wherever you feel like you are not comfortable with, or you are feeling difficulty to understand, you just stop me there. No hesitation. Stop me there. I will repeat it. Okay. Okay, cool. So first I wanted to cover this thing for you. What are all the different layers that we have in Spring Boot architecture? Okay. As we have seen, there are how many concerns? What are all the concerns that we should be aware of in creating a web application? I have talked about this.
Interface concern.
User interface concern, user interface logic, then
Business logic, data logic.
Business logic, data logic, and
Control.
Control logic. Exactly. So whatever user interface logic that is there, that is now handled by that UI faced application, either React or Angular or Flutter, like that. That is now a separate thing. Okay, it is bundled and kept aside. When coming to backend server side application, whatever we have is we have 4 different layers. First layer is presentation layer, which faces the front end application. Okay, when I'm talking about, not about a console based normal application, I'm talking about a web application, a fully fledged web application which has separate front end, separate backend server, and also a database. Okay, now the presentation layer, which is the first layer which faces the front end application. This presentation layer have to do the authentication and JSON translation. Okay, JSON translation is done by SpringBoot itself. As we saw, it contains some Jackson JSON dependency, which converts JSON into Java object, and Java object back to JSON. So we do not need to worry about this. And for authentication, we have to worry, because the user authentication, the user information and everything will be stored in database. We have to talk to database to get the user information, whether the user credentials are valid or not. To do that, we have to write code even in business layer and other layers. Okay, and when coming to business layer, we write business logic mainly, and validation of everything that is required in business layer. Okay, and validation when coming to presentation layer is called as input validation. When user inputs something, we have to validate it in the presentation layer itself. Either, and authentication is one of the thing in user input validation. Okay, then coming to business layer, we have to write business logic, business validation, and authorization. There is a difference between authentication and authorization. Okay, authentication is some users, all users should be authentic. Okay, but it is not compulsory that all users are authorized. Some users are authorized to something. Suppose you take WhatsApp. Okay, if you have WhatsApp business, you are authorized to some sophisticated other functionalities of WhatsApp. If you are not of business type, you have only certain chatting this thing and chatting functionality or some calling functionality. So this is the difference between authentication and authorization. We authorize on basis of some criteria to some users, but whoever uses our server side application, all those users should be authentic. Okay, if they have authentic account, then only they can use it, but all of them need not be authorized. So we can do some authorizations like that. Will not do now. I'm just telling this because in future it may be helpful. Okay, then we have something called as persistence layer, where we write the database logic. Okay, then we write database, then we have database which contains or persists data. Okay, all these 3 layer comes under which in MVC design pattern. These 3 layer comes under which layer of MVC?
Controller.
Yeah. A controller? No.
Can you please repeat the question, sir?
we have model view controller, right? These things come under which layer of MVC?
So they come in different layers. Presentation, I think, is view. Business is
Yeah.
control, and the other two are, I think, model.
Nope. Actually, what's happening here is view is your front end. Okay. You have only controller
I
and
think in view, there is no controller logic, business logic, or data logic.
yep. I'll just tell this. Model view controller. Model means that which talks to database, right? So your persistence layer comes under model. View is something which user sees, right? So user sees what? Your front-end application. Your front-end application is view. Your persistence layer and business layer is your what? Comes under what? Front-end
I'm confused,
application
sir.
is view. Front-end okay. You have front-end application and you have back-end application and you have database, right? So view is your front-end application where all the user input validations are done there itself. You will see that you do all the validations there, and after validation itself, you will send the actual correct proper data to backend server. So in backend server, all the controller and model logic means your business logic and data logic and control logic are written there. Means these four layers or these three layers come under controller and model tiers, and your view is your front end. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if I just show this, so you have client, means client side application. From here you will send HTTP requests. Okay, you have controller talks to, so this is view, this client is view, this is controller, and this is model. All these three is model. Okay. So client sends HTTP request, controller will controls the request. Rather, these requests are first gathered by dispatcher servlet, and controller will have all the REST controller API endpoints, and for each and every API endpoints, the dispatcher will flow the control to that particular method. Then that controller what instead or inwardly call the service layer. Okay, service layer is connected to repository classes and model classes, and those service layer and model classes also talk with database either by using JDBC or JPA or Hibernate, like that. Okay. And all these dependency injections are done by SpringBoot itself automatically whenever it is necessary. We will see this when we see the code.
So one doubt. So when you
Yeah.
say repository class, you mean the classes which are generated automatically when we create a Spring Boot application?
No, classes we have to code. The objects of the classes are created by SpringBoot.
Okay, sir.
Okay, cool. Any questions here?
No, sir.
Okay. So we'll come to code. Here I will explain first the folder structure, whatever I have created. Okay. As we saw, we have client. For now, we do not have client application. Instead, we will use something called as Talent API Tester. Okay. So this is a Google extension. If you search for Talent API tester extension. So you will get sorry, you will get the free extension for Google Chrome itself. It is not a separate app, so it will be present in your extensions icon. If you select that Talent API tester, it will be, or if you download it, it will present here in the extension section. You can use this free Talent or API tester. Okay, it's like Postman. We have something called as Postman, which is a separate application. We have to download it and use it. Instead, we have this lightweight application, which is a Chrome extension itself. It helps us to test the API endpoints. What should be the URL? And if we send the request to this URL, what it will send back? Everything we will get from this. Okay. So you can download this extension. Now, now I go back to the code, and as I said, I'll close all these things. You should not be confused. Okay. Now, you see, earlier I'll open this project also, which we recently imported in today's class. You see, in source.main.java, we only have one package. Okay, we have to create another package for controller and another package for repository, as I have done here. So we will code it. Okay, why to disappoint you? How to create another package for this? I'll go right click here, new, and new class. So I will change the package name here. I'll not change the entire package name. I will tell controller package, controller, and I will tell the class name to be books controller. Okay, so I have this application to manage the list of books. Then I tell finish. Okay, this creates the class with another package. Okay, earlier I had only one package. Now I have another package. Inside this, I have this books controller package. Now I should make this as REST controller. Okay, because I want to expose API endpoints. So I add which annotation?
REST controller.
Yeah, I tell at REST controller. Okay, and I
One
press
question,
control. Yeah.
So you are writing at the rate REST controller, right?
Yeah.
So it is importing a REST controller class. If you see in the line number 3.
Yes.
So this is something we are getting when you create a Spring Boot project from Spring Web thing, right?
Yeah.
Where you are importing REST services as well, RESTful services.
Yes.
So suppose if we don't add that Spring Web dependency in the Maven, do we get the REST controller?
No.
Okay.
From where will you get it? It should be
Yes,
present
that's the
somewhere,
point.
right? It should be present somewhere. When you add web MVC dependency, Spring Web MVC dependency to the project when you are creating, it adds all these things. Okay.
Right.
So you have to add all these things. That allows you to maintain or create a RESTful application. Where you can create or expose REST API endpoints. Okay. Good. So now we have made this as at REST control. Now what we should do? I need to create an endpoint to add a book. Okay. So how do I create it? So what I do is I will go here and book controller. I will just copy this. So what I am doing here is I want to create or add book to the list by getting the title of the book from the URL itself. For that, I have to code this. As we saw yesterday, to display hello world to the browser, what we did is we added at get mapping, we did get call, and we just calling that URL from the browser, we got hello world message printed on our browser. But what we are doing here is we are doing a post call. We cannot just do get call and add something to the something to the database or list or get the data from the browser. We need to do post call. Get call is just done to get data from database or from backend server. Post call is something we do when we want to send data from front end to backend. Okay. So what we are telling here is this method or this API endpoint is listening to post call that is done by front-end application from this URL. Okay, localhost 8080 add / title. Okay, whatever title he gives in the URL after add / the titled book will be added to the list. Okay, how are we going to add to the list? To store the data of the book, we have to create a class called book. Okay, so I will create class. Create class book. Okay, it is in the same package. Okay, cool, public. Finish. So I have created book here and I will add two states. Book has private title and private string title and private long or integer. Let's take long ID. Okay, ID number, something like that. Then we will generate getters and setters. We will go to source, generate getters and setters, select all, and it will generate. Okay, so we save it. Come back to book controller, and it's done. Now, so one thing is clear. We have to make a post call to send the data, which is the data of name of the book, which comes as the part of URL. Then how do we fetch the data from the URL? We have to fetch it using an annotation called as path variable. Okay, this path variable is an annotation which fetches this title. This name and this name should be same. This title from the path. Okay, title is fetched here as a string, and that we set the title for the book. Okay, now we have to create a repository to do all the transactions with respect to database. Where we have to save data? For now, we will not in this session. In the next session, we will see how to use database. In this session, we will see how to store a book in a list. Okay. So for that, even to do that, we will create some repository. We will implement this DAO factory design pattern, which helps us to create multiple or implement that particular interface and give different implementation. For now, we are using this strategy of storing books in a list, which is an in-memory strategy. Later, tomorrow we may use file IO, or next day we may use a SQL or MySQL database, or some other day we may use cloud. Okay, but our controller code should not change. Even though our implementation of using using different strategies for storing data may change, but our controller should not change, because it affects so many things, like it may affect the API endpoint, or it may affect how the control flow goes. Okay, for that we have to create an interface that defines all kind of all kinds of operations that we are going to do with the data, and we will implement the implementation of how we should store that data. For that, we will create one repository package. So we'll come here and tell new interface and tell books repository. Okay, then tell finish. Inside this repository, what we should expose, what we can code either. What can we code? Can we code methods?
Yes, abstract methods.
Yeah, only abstract methods. Means we have to code some method headers, which defines that adding a book, listing the book, updating a book if needed, and deleting the book. So I'll come here, have this code ready. So let's not waste time. So book repository is here. We have 4 methods: list the book, and if needed, find by ID. Then we have save the book, and we have delete by ID. Okay, I'll copy this. These are all the only 4 functionalities for now. We have to expose to the implementation of dealing with the book data. Okay, so I copy this and I come here and I paste this. Okay, so close this, save. So this one I delete. This is book management.controller. Enter. So we save this and let this be there. So I'll delete this. Okay, since it is in the same package, we need not import it, and we have to import this books repository. It is not only just importing books repository, we have to create the object of this book repository. But we will not create the object of this book repository, but SpringBoot will do that. How it will do that is by injecting this book repository while creating the object for this book controller. Okay, so I'll just copy this. I will tell you how it will inject. Okay, So books repository is not this. So just an import, save. Why is it showing the error? It is actually, it is okay. We'll not worry much about this.
Do we need
And
to remove
also-
the final there?
No, not necessary. This Eclipse sometimes acts like
Because it throws the initialization error, right?
yeah, it is initialized here. Okay, so and we have to tell that one more
Before
thing.
to use that, we have to initialize, right? Because it's a local variable, right? Inside method.
Where are we using it?
Okay, okay. Got it. Got it.
Are we not initializing it? We are initializing it, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Oh.
yes.
So here we go. Then one more thing I have missed, that is in books repository, we have to tell that to make it as a component or to consider it under component scan from Spring Boot, we have to tell that it is a repository. Okay. And one more thing, if you can tell, why are we getting this error? We know this, you know this. What is books repository?
Books repository is an interface.
Is an interface. What's happening here is the main reason why we are getting this error is Spring Boot will create an object of this. How to create an object of this but we cannot create the object of interface. That is the main reason we are getting this. So to overcome this, we have to create one more class like here, which is the first implementation of in-memory book repository. So we'll create it. Come here. Did it create in the same package? We created a repository package, right? Okay, what I will do is,
No, you have not created a repository package.
okay, that's my mistake. So I tell book management dot repository. Okay, then class is in memory book management. Okay, repo. Then that's it. Finish. Okay, it created another class. I'll just cut this and I'll paste this here. What happened? Oh, I believe there's something. So books repository to this. Update fully qualified names in. So we have a repository interface and we have a class. So repo, it implements our books repository. So now it should do what? Now it should do what? Give.
Implement the services.
Yeah, implement all these things here, right? So let's see. Paste this and save, and we'll give implementation to all these things. Okay, so now we go back here. Still, okay. So again, we have to give one more annotation here at repository. Control Shift O, it implements repository. Come back here. So I think this error may go away later when we run it. And now we come back here. We see you understand things like we have to do, or we have to expose an API endpoint for a post call for this particular URL, where the data comes in the URL. How to read the data? For that we use at path variable annotation, and we extract title with its data type. Okay, and we create a new book. Okay, and we set title for that, and we tell that book repository dot save book. In save method, what we should do? In save method, what we should do? In save method, what we should do? What is the logic that we have to write here to save? And one more thing, you should give me the logic. As and when I add the book, my ID should get auto updated or incremented by 1. How to write that logic? Hello?
So you'll have to create some instance variables, which is a collection, and one static, which is like the ID.
Where?
In this class itself.
In this class itself, when I create book, when I want to add book,
I'm confused, so I'm sorry.
first we have to do this. Okay, we have to save the book. We'll focus on one thing. We'll go to controller. We get a post call along with the title of the book from the URL. Now we create a book. Once we create a book, my ID should get updated. Where it should get updated? How it should get updated? In book class, we will have some private, let this also be long count. Okay. Then
why do we need count? Sir?
private static count. Then here we will tell that ID equal to count. Clear? Can we, is it correct? Am I correct? What is this? What is this?
Instance initialize.
What is it used for? What is the work of that? Why do we use that?
To write some piece of code which is used in all the constructors.
Yeah, correct. No matter which constructor gets fired during object creation, if we need some statements of code to be executed, then we use instance initializer. Why static?
Single copy.
Single copy per program execution, so it keeps the count as single copy. Whenever we increment, it increments and gives the proper count of the books added to the list, or ID gives the proper ID to the list which should be incremented. Clear? Have you forgotten all these things?
So one doubt, we should have one more private static collection variable, no sir, some list or something here.
Yeah, where? It's not here. We need a collection to store the list of the books, but not here. Should book store the books? No, right? So that code comes there. So now we have proper data. We have book ID and book title. We have to save that in a list. So we will not do it here. For this mapping of URL, we come here and this redirects to the repository code. Okay. So we'll go to repository, this in-memory repository, and we will implement that particular logic of storing book in a list here. Okay. Which data structure do you think is best here to use? Considering everything possible, might be possible in future.
List, sir.
List, why do you think so?
Because you have that ID and indexing and get by ID and all this thing.
Get by ID, can you do it by lists? Using lists?
Okay, my bad. We can have multiple same copy books in the collection.
Suppose I do not want to have it.
Then you can use a set, sir.
Use
A set.
set. Set set cannot store. Set can store an object, but it stores an object. But what I prefer is map. Okay, because since I have serial numbered index or serial numbered ID for books, for this serial number, this book. Okay, so what data structure it is?
Key value pair.
Yep. So we have to have which data structure? What is that data structure called, which stores key value pair?
Map.
Yeah, map. Why are you taking so much time?
So
Map.
one more doubt.
Yeah.
Are set and list operations much faster than map operations?
Yeah, not necessarily. It depends, right?
Okay, fine. Okay, sir.
It depends. What kind of, if I want to fetch get ID, so it will just get that ID. Okay. In that matter, to do get operation, lists are faster. Map is also might be faster. It depends on underlying data structure. If you tell hash map hash map is much faster than list, right? It stores in hash buckets. It need not search for all the things, but random access is faster in list, not in linked list, but in array list. Hash map is also faster because you do not, if you have large list, you need not worry about thinking of this thing, but inserting and deleting are much faster in maps, right?
Okay, so if that's the case for all these general industry requirements, it's better to go for maps.
It's not general. It
Okay, sir.
depends. It depends.
Okay, sir.
We cannot tell that this data structure is general for this or for all the industry requirement. It depends. You can use list, no worries, but you think that okay, I want the list of all the books, only list, then you go for list. You go if you want to add or delete again and again or update. To update, you have to search. Searching is better in hash map, right? Hashing technologies, hashing, which implements this hashing technology, right? Hash set or hash map. So we go for map. Where we take much time is searching. Okay, hashing is eases the searching operation. That is why we go for hash map or hash set.
Okay, sir.
Okay. It is not fixed that we have to go for this or that. It depends. But in interviews, or if you are given like this problems in any interviews, don't think much. Concentrate on solving problem. Okay, time and all, nothing matters much there, and you need not tell that also. If you tell, you will get into trouble by yourself without knowing fully about all the data structures and algorithms. Okay, don't fall into trap which is dig by your own hand. This is what I wanted to tell. So I will go for map, which is type to long, which is id, data type of id, and string, which is the data type of name. I tell this as bookstore. Okay, new hash map of Control-Shift-O, save. So now I will just tell what
Put
bookstore dot put book dot get id and book dot get title, and it will actually, it should return a boolean. So what is this? Return bool. Then we will return return. Why this error? Who changed the data type? Visibility public boolean save. Okay, in books repository, it is public, all public, because we need to use this in different packages also, and save should return Boolean. Okay, cool. So any doubts, any questions here?
When does it returns false?
It will not return false
It's,
because
so
every
or
time,
we add a book.
every time, yeah, let me finish. Yeah, every time you create a book and try to add book, a new ID is generated and it will add non-duplicate ID and it will add every time, and you can add another book with same title, but its ID differs always. Okay, when you tell add, its ID differs always and it is always added to the map of this book, map of the books or bookstore. Clear?
Okay.
So then what to do? I'll just come here, and so we have implemented the creating part. Okay, then I will comment all these things so that we need not bother about giving implementation to these things. So I save this. Now I would like to run this. Okay, so list is not needed. Save. So what have we done? Any doubts or any questions till now?
So one clarification,
Yeah.
all the methods in interface, even if you don't use the keyword public, it will be marked as public, right? Just to clarify.
Sorry, I did not.
In any interface, even if you do not use the word keyword public, by default, it will always be public.
No, it was in the same package, so there was no error. But for this, to use that save here in the controller, we are using this book repository.save, right? For this, we had to do it as public. So that error was there.
Okay, sir.
Okay. For same package, it can be a package access, means no access specifier might be mentioned. But to use in different packages, it is in the controller package, that is in the repository package. To use that save, we had to make that public. Okay. Cool.
Hello, sir. I have one query. Line number 17, 18. We have added book control and book repository. Why we added that 2 lines of code? Because like in post mapping, we are getting a title of the book, and we are going to that book class and repository.
Yeah.
Why we added about 2 lines of code?
We have to go to book repository, right? We have to create that object. Instead, we do not create object. Spring Boot creates object. Okay, that is why we have to add this, or we have to create a reference of book repository, which is final, or which is a constant, which doesn't change, which should not change. Then we are initializing it to the book repository object, which is injected by Spring Boot. Okay, we'll see. We will run this. I do not know why this error is not going. I'll close this.
So can we use the book service class instead of the interface directly?
We can use either service or repository. I am using just repository because we are not doing much of service thing, right? What we do generally is we write this code. Okay, this particular, if we have multiple, if you see this image, you can see this service layer or service classes and our repository class or repository classes, service classes and model classes. all these things come under one umbrella, you can say that, which talks to database. Okay, service layer is such that which has so much of code or so much of business logic, and we have to separate that business logic and also our data connectivity logic. Then we separately write that service layer. Otherwise we can write it like this. That's why I have written it like this. If you want, you can create this as a service class, like in-memory service, and again you have to store that. Where do you store that? In repository only. So since we are not doing any such kind of thing like talking to database and all, while we create such class or such object or such project of talking to database, we will use that. Okay, we will code in service classes. Clear?
Yes, sir, sure. Thank you.
Okay, so we will run this. Okay, so we have to come here. Where is that? Controller repository. So yeah, this book management, and we will tell run as Java application. Proceed. So let's see what are the errors. Fail to instantiate, constructor threw exception. Why? So let's close this. Books controller. Okay, so this is the mistake that I have made. It is not book controller, it is books controller. Copy paste mistake. So error gone. And any other errors? No. Here at repository, Control Shift O, error gone. Okay. So now we will run it. So started book management application in 2 seconds. Okay. So very good. We'll go to this talent API tester and we will add one book. You can, what should be the URL? What should be the URL? So books controller /add/title. Okay, tell me some book name. /title. Give me some book names.
Bhagavad Gita.
Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Okay. And it is what call? Post call. If we do get call, you get an error. So you can see that. I'll tell send. You see 405 error, and it tells that error method not allowed because it allows post call. Okay. So I'll change this to post and I tell send. And what happened? Add /Bhagavad Gita application JSON chunked localhost. Okay, there is some error coming up here. Book management count is null. Okay. So how to do that? So our count is doing something. So some mischievous thing. Count is null. Okay. I think we can, I will just do this int count and we have to cast it to long. So now I save it and run it. Close, stop, close, run. So server is running. Now I tell send. You see 200 response and book added to the list. Any doubts in this code or writing this code? What did you learn newly, guys? You just recap me. What did you learn new? What new things that you learned?
Sir, I'll be honest with you, sir. I didn't understand what's happening at all.
Okay. Nothing you understood?
Of course, these classes and those things are fine, and the annotations are okay. But where is control coming first, and what's happening where? If you ask me to write it, no, I cannot write anything, sir.
Okay. So let me try to explain what's happening. What did we do here? First, we ran the server. Okay. There was no error in our code, in the backend code. First thing, we created Spring Boot project. We ran the we wrote all the codes. We shall not worry about that those codes. And we ran the server. Since there was no errors in our backend server application, server ran. Okay, this much you are clear?
Yes, sir. Creating a Spring Boot application, I'm clear. No issues in it.
Okay, running server and how it runs and everything, we need not worry at all. We just run it as a Java application, server runs. Okay,
sir.
now we are creating an API endpoint. Okay, where if we hit from another application, which is supposed to be a front-end application, this URL, if we enter localhost :/add/title of the book, it should come and that data should come, or we should listen to that API call, and this endpoint should do some work on that particular data and send back the required response back to the user of this API endpoint. This is the requirement. Okay.
Agreed, sir. Understood this.
Okay. When you enter this URL from this API tester, okay, we entered this URL http://localhost:8080/add/title of the book is Bhagavad Gita. This URL we entered and we sent the request for this particular localhost. Cool?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what how did control flow here is there is something called as dispatcher servlet, and the component scan and everything has happened earlier, which Spring Boot takes care of it. Means all these things are considered to be components of this particular Spring Boot application. Wherever we have specified that this is a REST control, this is a repository, okay, and even this is a repository. This is how we mentioned that these are all different components of this application. We have all these components together.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then in this REST controller, we have something, this API endpoint, which is listed by the dispatcher servlet. So when it receives this request from the client side, it maps the control to this API endpoint. Clear?
Clear, sir.
Okay. What are we doing here? We are extracting this title from using this annotation called as path variable. This title is extracted.
Correct. Okay.
Then we are creating a new book object. Okay.
So can you show me that book class code?
Book class. What are we doing here? When we tell new book of, there are no explicit argument constructors, but there is an initializer, and we have two states, sorry, one count variable. This is a static count variable which keeps the count of number of book objects created. Clear?
Yes, the book class is clear.
Clear. Okay. I'm not explaining to Anant only, I'm explaining to everyone. If you are not understanding, please stop me there and ask me again. Okay. So now we come back here and we tell that set title of the book to title. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then we have created another class called book repository, not a class. This book repository reference is not of type class, but it is of type interface. Okay. What does this interface contains? It contains all the functionalities that is to be exposed to deal with book data. Clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Cool. Let me plug in the charger.
So in this Spring application, we only have one repository class.
One repository interface.
Okay, interface. Okay, yes, sir.
Okay, and we have another repository class, concrete class, which gives the implementation for this repository.
Clear. Yes.
Okay.
So one is for interface and another one is concrete class.
One is concrete class. So using this interface, we will see how another class can be created, and that talks to database, not to not only an in-memory thing where we create a list or something like that. It doesn't happen like that. It will create. We will see how another implementation of this repository can be done. Okay. We'll see it tomorrow. Today we are seeing that how we can store books that is created into a map or list or anything. Clear? So what is happening here is when Spring Boot does the component scan, it encounters this books repository object should be injected as dependency to this class. Are we creating like earlier we used to do? We used to create a tester class. We used to create main method. From there, we used to inject the dependency. Are we doing all those things here?
No, sir.
No. Who is doing it?
Spring Boot.
Spring Boot is doing it. Whenever it is necessary to inject something, whenever it is required, then Spring Boot creates the object of that particular class or interface. How it chooses, I will explain it tomorrow, because you will understand when there are multiple implementations of an interface. So it will inject whenever it is necessary. And also there is another way of injecting the dependency. We will also see that. We need not even write this 2-3 lines also. It is just an annotation. It is called as auto-wired annotation. It just gives the object whenever it is necessary. If we just mark it with auto-wired annotation. So using this reference, we are calling save method, which is implemented in this repo class. Clear till now?
Yes. Yes, sir. Clear.
Any questions? No questions.
So right. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. So here, to store the books, we are creating a map, and we are telling that in the save method, what you should do is the book you will get, book name you will get, ID we are creating on its own in the book class. you just put it as the key value. ID will be key and title will be value and return true. Any doubts here?
No, sir. This is fine.
No. So it returns from this method and comes back to this controller, and it returns that book added to the list. Any
Okay.
doubts? Any questions?
No, sir. So in that talent API tester, we will only
Yeah.
be seeing that message book added to the list after we click on post.
Yeah, if it
Okay.
goes well.
Okay, sir.
If everything, if during running time, if something bad happens, it will give some 500 status code, which tells that some internal server error, some bad has happened in your code, in your server side code. Then you have to refactor that. Any questions?
Okay. So now I got the idea, sir. Thank you, sir.
Everybody? Hello, everybody. I think this became too much.
Yes, sir.
No more burden today. I will put this video on YouTube. You can just watch
Sir,
it
one
again.
request.
Yep.
Before to start next class, can you please explain today's class? Means in tomorrow's class, before to start next
Sure.
topic or so. Yeah.
Sure. I will explain it again. Anything else?
So one more request. I'm talking from myself. Can we have one day off tomorrow? I can just do some R&D myself, and then I'll have some better idea for the next session.
You do R&D from morning till evening. We cannot skip the sessions because I have very less time.
Okay, sir.
I
Fine. No
think we
issues.
have tomorrow React test.
Is it so? Then I will ask Vikram sir. Okay, let's discuss off the recording all these things. Just off the recording.
Sir, can we get today's 5?